Today we're diving into the fight to save one of the world's most incredible predators, the Siberian tiger. And we're going to do it by telling the amazing and honestly pretty heart-wrenching story of one specific tigress named Olga.
Okay, just imagine this for a second. You're a scientist, deep in the Russian wilderness, and you've just come face to face with a massive and very, very angry cat. Well, that's the exact spot biologist Howard Quigley found himself in.
I mean, you can just feel the tension, right? In that one frozen moment, literally anything could happen. Is she going to pounce? Is she going to run? The survival of both the scientist and this amazing animal hung right there in the balance.
So let's really break down this super dramatic encounter. This wasn't just some random meeting in the woods. It was a critical moment in a much, much bigger mission.
Howard Quigley, the guy at the center of all this, he's a biologist, and he specializes in these huge carnivores. And on this particular day, let's just say all that expertise was being put to the ultimate test.
So despite the danger, Quigley somehow manages to stay completely calm. He raises his tranquilizer gun, takes careful aim, and fires. The dart hits its mark and this massive tiger staggers for a moment, then just slowly slumps to the ground, fast asleep.
And with Olga safely sedated, the team just rushes in. Now, you gotta remember, they're working on a 370-pound predator, so every single second counts. They're taking blood samples, checking her vitals, measuring her from head to tail, all before fitting her with this special radio collar, a piece of tech that was about to change everything.
Now you might be wondering, okay, why go through all of this risk for just one tiger? Well, the thing is, Olga wasn't just any tiger. She was a crucial part of a species that was literally fighting its way back from the very edge of extinction.
And this number, this is the one that just stops you in your tracks. By the early 1900s, because of overhunting, there were fewer than 50 Siberian tigers left on the entire planet. 50. That's how close we came to losing them forever.
Now, thankfully, some laws passed back in 1947 did help, but the recovery has been painfully slow. I mean, even after decades of work, the population had only bounced back to around 350 by the year 2002. Sure, it's an improvement, but that's still a dangerously fragile number. And it's not just their numbers. Their entire world has shrunk so dramatically. 100 years ago, their territory stretched all across this huge part of Asia. Now they're stuck in this tiny, isolated little pocket of land in Russia and China.
So if you're going to save them, you have to understand them first. And that's where technology and our tigress, Olga, played a totally pioneering role.
This is a really historic fact. That super tense encounter we started this whole story with, well, it ended with Olga becoming the very first of her kind to ever be tracked with a radio collar. This really opened up a whole new era of wildlife conservation.
So how does this amazing piece of tech actually work? It's kind of beautifully simple. The collar sends out a radio signal that the researchers can pick up as a series of beeps, and the speed of those beeps tells them everything: if the tiger is sleeping, if she's hunting, if she's on the move, and crucially, it also tells them if the signal stops completely, which could mean the tiger is dead.
And that brings us to the really harsh reality of the threats these animals face. It's basically a battle that's being fought on two different fronts: the illegal wildlife trade and the loss of their home.
So that first front is the fight against poachers, people who illegally hunt protected animals, and they're driven by the huge profits you can make on the black market.
The why behind all this is just tragic. Poaching is fueled by this black market for tiger parts that are used in traditional potions. Now, there is zero scientific basis for any of this, but this false belief that tiger parts can cure everything from pimples to paralysis, well, it drives a deadly, deadly trade.
And the money involved is just enormous. A single dead tiger can get a poacher $15,000. That's more money than a lot of families in that region make in several years. It's a really powerful motivator for devastating crime.
And the second front in this war is the loss of the tiger's home. Their habitat, the natural environment where they live and hunt and raise their cubs, it's just disappearing.
Siberian tigers live in the Russian taiga, which is the largest forest on our planet. But as logging operations move in and cut down huge numbers of trees for timber, the world these magnificent cats need to survive is literally shrinking around them. And this also gets rid of their prey, like deer and wild boar, forcing the tigers into smaller and smaller areas, and closer to conflict with people.
But look, this isn't just a story about threats. It's also a story of hope and incredible resilience. Because against all the odds, these conservation efforts have actually started to turn the tide.
People are fighting back,
you've got these anti-poaching squads that are now patrolling the taiga, actively searching for traps and any signs of illegal hunting. Their brave work, plus all these international efforts to shut down the trade routes, is paying off. They're making arrests and, most importantly, the number of tigers is on the rise.
And Olga herself, she became a living symbol of this comeback. First collared way back in 1992, she just went on to thrive. Over the next decade, she proved she was a remarkable mother, giving birth to her 6th litter of cubs by 2002. She was a direct personal part of her species' survival, a real, living success story.
But Olga's story also serves as this really stark reminder of just how fragile this success really is. And her story, it takes a sudden, tragic turn.
In January of 2005, her radio signal just went silent. The beeps just stopped. After everything she had been through, after surviving and raising so many cubs, it's believed that Olga, the ultimate survivor, was killed by poachers. Her death was just a devastating blow, but her legacy is not one of failure. Her life and her tragic end have just fueled an even greater determination among scientists and conservationists to protect the tigers that are still out there.
So Olga's story is over. But the story of the Siberian tiger, well, that's still being written. And that final chapter, it really depends entirely on us and whether the fight she came to symbolize can ultimately be won.